Loki has cooked yet again with his second season, easily topping himself on the throne that is for Marvel's best TV show as of yet. And, it's not a lot of competition for that throne, but it still deserves this crown nonetheless. What's up YouTube, I'm King Koi here, and for today's video, I'm going to just be reviewing over the finale for Loki Season 2. So without further ado, let's get into it. Loki's entire season was definitely incredible, but I wanted to take some time to talk about the finale first. As I said in my last video for Attack on Titan's finale, the finale of a franchise is typically what's going to be remembered most. A series could be perfect all the way up until the end, and that ending is going to make it hated on for centuries if it happens to be bad. So you have to always make sure the finale is good, and Loki definitely made sure to deliver that much. The main reason why this show, and especially this season, is so good as a whole is because Marvel has had a recent issue with trying to tie everything together. They did it naturally in phase 1 of the MCU up into phase 3, and after phase 3 and entering phase 4, they were trying so hard to just connect the dots all the way to make it seem like they were foreshadowing everything, or to make everything seem like it was part of a bigger picture. That's not bad, but the main reason why the MCU was so beloved before is because they were telling individual stories that just happened to connect with one another. If you're telling stories solely to push the main agenda forward, then you're ultimately failing at storytelling, because at this point you're not making movies or TV shows, you're making part 19 of 25 parts, so that when the part 26 finale comes out, everybody can watch and understand everything that happened beforehand. And it seems that the writers for this show also learned how to time slip, because they went back to when the MCU was actually using peak writing to push their stories forward, because they went back to this method of using their own shows to propel their characters, to grow their characters, to focus on their characters, and then ultimately allow that to add up to the greater scale of what the MCU is. It's a universe full of many characters doing their own thing that connect together, because naturally they are the own centers of their own universes, and that collides into what we call the MCU. And Loki's entire character is not knowing what his own universe is supposed to be, what his own representation of a character is supposed to be. He doesn't know what Loki is, because his actual introduction to the series was as a villain that was broken. He was introduced as a villain because he wasn't sure what he was actually supposed to be. He was filled up with such rage and pent-up aggression, a lust for vengeance, a lust to want to be something more than just a shadow than somebody. He felt like he was only taken because he was used as a trophy to essentially stop a war between Asgardians and Frost Giants. And then he moved on to his obsession with the throne, of which he believed that was his birthright, that he should ultimately have some place to rule on. That extended from the Avengers to Thor the Dark World, and then eventually he came back around in Thor Ragnarok, where at that point he was finally learning to make amends with his past and actually heal his broken relationship with his brother. And then Thanos killed him for real. But then past Loki saw all of that in a flash, and at that point he had the ability to have free will to choose what he was going to be. He knew everything that he was ever going to think, that he was ever going to do, that he was ever going to accomplish up until his death. At that point it was entirely up to him to decide what he was going to focus on next. He went through pride, he went through his love, he went through his care for another person. Even if it happened to be himself from a different dimension, they were still different in the sense he will be able to love Sylvie as a different character, as a different person entirely. And because of that growth and that experience that he was able to have, he was able to eventually be honest with himself with his actual feelings for these people that he grew to know as friends. He cared about them way too much to let any of them suffer, to let any of them die, and to sacrifice any of them, to the point where he learned the power of self-sacrifice, where eventually he learned that he didn't actually want a throne. All that he truly needed was his friends, and as long as his friends were alive and happy, he too could be happy, to the point where he's able to sit down on his throne as the king, or god rather, of stories, where he was able to truly tap into his inner self-worth and his inner strength. And the beauty of it all, the glory of it all, is the fact that he was able to do it without sadness, because as he sits down on that throne that he rightfully claimed for himself, he was able to listen in and listen on as all of his friends were able to be happy for all of time, always. He was able to ensure that for everybody, that peace, that joy. He was able to feel that because he was able to feel their joy from being able to live happily because of his sacrifice. So he's able to smile on as he listens to their joy, as he watches on as their lives are able to be lived out in peace. He's able to smile in contentment and joy because he was able to bring that for the people that he cared about most. And yeah, it does suck. I really wanted to see Loki reunite with his brother eventually, and I'm sure he's gonna come back at some point. The Kang dynasty is still coming up, so that's inevitable for him to come back at some point. He's most likely going to be the overarching main hero of this new phase that's focusing entirely on Kang. And personally, I'm alright with it. A lot of people have been focusing on, like, the issue, or not issue, as just the question, the burning question of who could possibly replace Iron Man as the face of the MCU. And honestly, Loki being that new face makes sense. He is a god after all, and it would take a god to be able to mess with something as powerful and as important as time. So now he's able to be the god of mischief, the god of time, and the god of stories. It also makes sense that he was able to outsmart Kang, who essentially wrote everything, because he is the god of mischief, and mischief is just nothing more than creativity given chaos, and we all know what that brings. Not only does this perfectly wrap up his own character, but it also introduces a brand new story to unfold for the MCU of multiple branches and timelines and universes colliding with one another. We're all already desperately waiting for Deadpool 3 to release, and now we can see how that's going to actually work out, whether it's Deadpool just being Deadpool or it's Loki being Loki and tying everything together. Regardless, Marvel is definitely able to pick up the pace now, hopefully. I'm hoping that the Marvels movie isn't too much of a bomb on Tuesdays and critics are just overly hating on it, but honestly it could go either way. Critics could be hating on it far too much, or the MCU could have just messed up again. We won't know until it comes out, but I hope that they're able to just continue this momentum that they have with this show. Honestly, I think I would title it as the only good well, no, I won't say the only good show. Marvel's had a few good shows in my personal opinion, but this is definitely easily the best, and I hope that they just continue on with this level of quality from now on. I plan to focus talking about the finale for the franchise as a whole, but I kind of rambled a bit too much and talked about a few of my thoughts for the season as a whole. I guess I'll upload my thoughts on the season as a short. Make sure to subscribe so you can help a brother out, and so you can also stay tuned for these thoughts. Let me know your thoughts in the comments as well, because I definitely want to hear your thoughts and see more opinions on the season as a whole. Have a good rest of your day, and I will see you all next time.